What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Best Podcast. If you're just joining us for the first time ever, I have started a quest to find the best of everything. The only problem with that is that anytime somebody tells you it's the best, it's just their opinion. There's no right or wrong answer. There's no way to scientifically prove that any one thing is the best. So I thought what I would do is I would take some of my favorite people, some of the most interesting people I know, and ask them questions. And maybe we can get to the bottom of what really is the best of some subject. Today, I am joined by one of my good friends, the very funny and talented Cori Stewart.
Hello.
She is a comedian, a lawyer, and a mother, which is the reverse order of difficulty. I think I should have done it the opposite way.
And
but
that's the reverse order in which it happened. Mother, lawyer, comedian.
It would have been impressive if you were lawyer first. No, yeah, you're right. I think it's more impressive the way you did it. Yeah. Figuring it out as we go. No, I'm happy to have you on. Thanks for coming.
I'm so happy to be here.
Real quick, give out any social media or if you have any upcoming shows.
Okay. My Insta is Cori Does Stuff. You can find me on Facebook, Cori Stewart. I jettisoned Twitter, and that's about it. I have The Show presents Storybook on August 10th. I have a bunch of shows coming up in Iowa and Minneapolis in the beginning of July, but I don't know that that matters. And I'll be in Kansas City the weekend of the 28th to the 30th doing some indie shows at Strange Days and I believe the Rhino and Knuckleheads. And then the next month I will be back in Kansas City at Barrel of the Bottoms on August 18th for Body Language, which is a show where if you get laughs, you take off your clothes, and it's a real good time. I've done it before. So fun.
Terrifying for me. That would be, I think the two things that I would be most scared of in the world would be taking off my clothes or doing karaoke. All right, so let's dive into it. I've got a bunch of questions preloaded here on the screen. The whole idea is I'll just ask you, you give your honest opinion.
Okay.
Maybe we debate about it a little bit. Maybe we.
That's one of my jobs. So
I know you
can do
That's
it.
why I'm nervous about this podcast. I'm like, she's a lawyer. She's gonna wipe the floor with me.
I'm not a good lawyer. I just passed a couple bar exams. No bigs.
It's more than I've done.
I mainly just went so people wouldn't think I was stupid. After I had a child as a child, like I had to do something,
How old were you when you had your child?
I was 17 when I got pregnant.
Young.
Yeah, pretty young.
Yeah. So I can kind of relate to that. I'm 33 and my daughter is 14. So when she was born, I was 18. I didn't actually meet her for a couple years later, but
it's still young.
It's still very young.
We have good friends who are in their early 20s, and I can't imagine.
Yeah, some of them having children.
Yeah.
Although sometimes I feel like some people, not everybody, but some people once they have a child, then they become who they're actually supposed to be.
Yeah. I was even at 17, I was a wreck, and I was messy for a while. And I think being a parent really kind of pulled me out of that. Like, there's no way I would have gone to school had I not had my kid. I would have probably just continued to be a degenerate. I'm still kind of a degenerate, but I mean, like, I'm less so.
Aren't we all? Though?
Yes,
like,
yes.
I mean, it's just,
yes.
As far as comedians go, like, as far as the entertaining world goes, I would say comedians have it together the least. Then maybe painters next.
Yeah.
Like, I would say.
Comedians then improv people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think we both kind of compete.
We're one step lower than improv.
Yeah.
It's not true. They're nice people.
They are
I'm
nice.
Just being silly.
Yeah.
They like each other.
I've always wanted to do improv.
Yeah.
Because I want to know if I could do it.
Yeah. I bet you
could. I don't know. I get very nervous sometimes, like being on the spot.
Yeah.
I like to be prepared and planned.
Yeah.
And I start to like panic. If I'm late for anything, or if I get somewhere and I realize I've forgotten something, I mean, it's just like, you know, just that anxiety that builds up and stuff.
And you just keep going, yes, and
and I'm scared someone would be like, so you're pro Hitler, right? Yes, and Stalin,
and Mussolini
too, okay.
And Pol Pot.
And Pol Pot, yeah, he's not a lot of people know about Pol Pot. I brought him up one time on a podcast, and a lot of people were like, "Well, who is that?" And I was
Cambodia,
like, "Come on,
just so many, so many people."
He put up some decent numbers, you know.
Working,
and then there's Mao Zedong, like he also did, which actually was one of the questions: who's the best dictator?
Oh,
but. No,
well, we've covered it.
Yeah, but
what else can we cover?
We got more. We got
ice cream. Is ice cream a question?
Actually, it is. I was going to say, what's the best flavor of ice cream?
Manchego from Clementines, or Manchego truffle.
I've never heard of it. What kind?
Manchego is a Spanish sheep milk cheese. And so it's a very rich, almost like cheesecakey flavor, and then it has some like very earthy truffle flavors. But then there's like sweetness to it. Ah, Jesus Christ. Clementines is, oh God. And they have boozy ice creams. Like I don't drink booze anymore, but their boozy ice creams are also very good.
I can't, you had me at cheesecake. When you said that, I was like, oh, okay. That's one of my all-time favorite things.
Yeah.
For Father's Day, we were in St. Louis, and I was like, hey, who wants to go pick up some desserts from Cheesecake Factory, and then we can eat them later when we get home? And everyone in the car looked at me like, they looked at me like I had a penis growing out of my head, and I was like, okay, all right, whatever. They're like, let's go to Baskin Robbins. I'm like, yeah, that's the same. Mm-hmm.
It's your day.
Yeah,
it's your day, and
it's
you
Father's
can't.
Day. Then I actually, everybody forgot it was Father's Day, and then on Monday I was kind of sad. And they were like, what's wrong? And I was like, well, yesterday was Father's Day. I know it's not a big deal, but it was just whatever. And then that night, I got a card from my son, and it said happy birthday on it. And I was like, well, an attempt was made.
Sentiment
an
really
attempt
matters.
was made.
It doesn't have to be the right holiday. What if he had been like, happy Arbor's Day?
I would have been like, you know what, buddy? Let's go plant a tree. You know what? Let's celebrate. Hey, it's the thought that counts. It was a nice card. It did pop out and fold out.
Oh, that's fancy.
Okay. Yeah, I liked it.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, okay.
See, I need to come up with a better system because I have to put my mouse on my jeans in order for it to track. What's the best way to rob a bank? As a lawyer, I think that you have official advice.
Well, I think you have to get a job at the bank.
Yeah.
And then you work there.
An inside
You work there,
okay.
right. You work there for about 4 years.
Build trust.
Right. You get a 401k going. You get benefits, healthcare benefits. And then you throw out your back.
There you go. Workman's comp.
Right.
I like that.
And it puts you out of the job market, and you're getting money for the rest of your life.
But you have to be.
But you put that money into an annuity, and then you invest the dividends.
Dividends, yeah.
Dividends into some kind of speculative investment offer, maybe like a real estate development project.
Oh.
Yeah, and then you steal the money from that and move to Brazil. That's how you rob
I can't even argue with that. But if you're going to be that yeah, exactly. But if you're going to be that employee, you have to be like the model employee. Like you have to be in charge of office birthdays.
Sure. You're bringing in a
after-work get-togethers.
You remember your coworkers' cats' birthdays, and maybe you throw them like a sweet 16 party for the cats, if the cats are especially old.
Clean the litter boxes when they're out of town on vacation. Oh, I'll come by. Yeah. So that way
someone's on hospice, you're visiting them at least twice a week.
Exactly.
You remember everyone's mom's name.
Yeah. And they would never suggest. They'd be like, where did this $100,000 and Cori go? I can't be related, you know?
She just left with a back brace.
She was such a straight shooter. I never... that's actually a really good one. What's the best conspiracy theory?
I think the best conspiracy. Oh, that's tough because I don't really get into those. I don't really read those.
I don't either, but I love hearing someone who's
Yeah.
really into it talk about it, and then you just kind of like, you're a lot crazier than I thought you were.
I fucking hate birds aren't real. I think that's especially toxic right now when our world is on fire. For people to be like, oh, they're just machines. It's fine. I don't like that one. I like Stanley Kubrick conspiracy. Yeah.
Film the moon landing?
Yes. Yeah, I like that. That's pretty milquetoast. That's pretty I like God, all I can the only ones I can think of like happened way before I was born. Mel Gibson's conspiracy theory isn't bad.
Which one's that? Oh, is
It's
that
the movie? The movie he was in, Conspiracy Theory.
Oh.
The 1993 film.
I haven't seen that one. I thought when you said Mel Gibson, I was thinking of his drunk rant, and I was like,
no, I'm not.
Jews?
No,
like,
no. Maybe it's bad.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
it's bad to mention him at all. I meant his movie. I don't know, like. Oh God, what are some recent ones that maybe I could get on board with?
One I heard about very recently, which I thought was ridiculous but also fun, was that Antarctica is like a tropical paradise.
Oh, nice.
And that billionaires
they're keeping it from us.
Yes, billionaires are buying up land, so when the sea levels rise and we all drown,
That's so smart.
they'll be safe.
That's why they're billionaires.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
they're going to start a new civilization
Sure,
there.
they're just so smart, those billionaires.
Yep.
I think this is the right time to start a theory about those fuckers in the submarine. Like you and I could work on that and spread it this way.
Yeah, I've just recently heard about it because I didn't know anything about it until this morning, and I was scrolling through Facebook, and I was like, oh, wow. This which...
Everyone's like, boo-hoo-hoo,
No.
boo-hoo-hoo. $250,000 to go on that fucking
I'm okay.
metal rock that just...
What? It's like, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
No windows,
Yeah.
no doors. What are you doing down there? Yeah. You just want to see it?
Yeah.
You just
Like,
watch Titanic.
it falls, and so it's super tiny, and you can only look. There's like one little window, and they all have to like rotate to use the little window, and otherwise they're watching it on a TV. So why don't they watch? Yeah, you're right. Why don't they just watch watch the scenes from Titanic where James Cameron did it better and safer and smarter. And like, but I mean, what's our conspiracy theory about this? What if like they did that and they've disappeared into some kind of portal in the Titanic that takes you back to the Titanic?
Well,
what about that?
That is another one where people have talked about a hollow Earth.
Oh,
so
smart.
what if they fell into one of the holes and now they're going to pop out in like the South China Sea?
Or maybe they're fucking avatars. Is that where Avatar is?
I think it is. That's where,
Just blue.
Yeah, maybe. What if they get down there and there's just a bunch of like 9 feet tall blue people just staring back in that little window, and
but
they're like,
so sexy.
Could you guys move? Yeah, you guys are so attractive, but we're here to see the old ship. Another one I heard, or another one that I actually I want to believe is true, is that dragons were real. I think
that's possible.
I do too.
I think so.
My idea is that every ancient civilization all around the world has depictions of dragons, right?
Yeah.
And there were no emails, there's no Instagram, so they couldn't have told each other about this, so they all experienced it. And people are like, well, if there were dragons, how come we don't find any remains? And it's like, okay, what if their bones were hollow like birds?
Oh yeah,
and they didn't fossilize because they could fly.
They could have been like an evolutionary precursor, like post-dinosaur pre-birth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would rather live in a world where dragons were real than were not.
Are you a dragon guy? Ever had a pewter dragon with like a crystal
I have
ball?
not. I have not.
You ever gone to a head shop?
Now,
do people still call them head shops? Because that feels like
I think so.
Very 1997.
I think some people call them, well, I don't know, smoke shops now, I guess, basically.
Head shop
or glass shops, because that's where everybody goes and gets their glass, whatever. But I did not own a pewter dragon.
Like this?
However,
that's what they look like all the time.
I may or may not have bought a dagger with a dragon on the handle.
Yeah, you did.
From the mall, when I was like 16.
Like one of those like pop-up, like it used to be a Sam Goodies and now it's just the worst.
There's like ninja stars and there's some samurai swords and it's like there may not have been a dragon dagger in my room.
Who hasn't?
I mean,
you weren't a katana guy. Are you a katana? Have you
I
ever
am
been
not
a katana guy.
But I did have some old Civil War sabers on the wall in my room as a kid. I liked history. My mom was a history teacher.
I did too.
So we went to Gettysburg once for a vacation, and I was like, well, you got to get a sword if you go to Gettysburg.
Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
Right? What's the point of Gettysburg if you don't get a sword?
They sold when I was young, they sold really problematic, very problematic souvenirs. Like I went to Hannibal, Missouri.
Okay.
The home of Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain. Everything is Tom Sawyer themed, Becky Thatcher themed. I bought a bullwhip. Like why are they selling this to children? Children, like a working.
Yeah, you should have. Well, you should have seen us trying to get this on the plane. A sword, on a plane. Luckily, it was before 9/11, so they were just kind of like, yeah, sure, whatever, go ahead,
Luckily, there was a before 9/11 for a lot of reasons. There was a time before.
Now, I will say, during 9/11, I might have gone to my room and gotten my sword and was like, I'm just going to keep this with me.
Trained it like Highlander
Who knows?
outside.
Who knows? Because I remember my mom being like, the bridge from Cape to Illinois, it might be a target because it's one of the few ones, and it connects the east and west of the country.
We had a lot of that kind of
shitty
chat around here too.
Oh wow, this town of 36,000 people, they might come for it.
Totally.
Nothing would demoralize the country more than the Joanne Emerson Bridge being.
Oh, Joanne Emerson.
Yeah.
Oh. They said that Scott Air Force Base was going to get blown the fuck up.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Why not? Yeah. Why? Because people are like, "Hey, something's going on over there. Maybe it'll come here." That should be Missouri's slogan. Maybe it'll happen here too.
Something's over there, though.
Yeah, we're always a little bit behind everywhere else. Like, that's funny. If the Olympic Committee called tomorrow and they were like, Cori, we've had someone drop out of the Olympics. Okay. Which event would you be best at?
Rhythm gymnastics.
Rhythm
like the ribbon.
With a ribbon dancing.
Or with like a ball. Rolling a ball.
Yeah.
Like sexy dolphin moves with the ball. I think I'd be like so good at it. I'm doing that next week for spoiler alert. I'm doing that for Spine Mic. We have a character. I run a bi-weekly mic, and we have every other month we have character night, and I'm doing Laika, the cosmonaut dog, as my character. But she's gonna be. She wished that she had been a gymnast on the Russian gymnastics team instead of a cosmonaut. You know how sad that is.
Ended better. Yeah.
Well, I feel like they're kind of like lukewarm on their cosmonauts, but they fucking love their Olympians.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
yeah.
So long as they're under the age of 14.
Sure.
And, yeah.
Yeah, and very malleable. Yes.
Very bendy. Unfortunately, she wasn't born a dachshund. She was a Labrador.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
She didn't have just have to be compact.
I don't think that I would be able to compete realistically in any Olympic event, but I've always thought that if I had to choose one, I would do the downhill jump, just the one big jump.
Oh, on skis?
Yeah, the whole event is 7 seconds long, and it's pass fail. You know what I mean? Like, I would either die when I hit the bottom, or maybe I pull it off, and
spectacular way to break your neck.
Yeah, I feel like it would be fairly quick though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
have you thought about something safer like curling?
I have, but it's first of all, to compete in curling is like kind of a ego blow. But then to lose in curling,
Sure.
just like, oh man, you were bad at sweeping ice. You know, like imagine
This man can't work a broom.
oh my gosh, wait, what are you? What is this, amateur hour? What's the best way to survive in prison?
I've thought about this a lot. Like, what would I do in prison? I think I would become like the Birdman of Alcatraz and just be like a weirdo with a very niche hobby. Maybe I'd be like the lizard gal of Menard. Menard prison. I just get like I'd build an army of lizards because we have lizards now in like Southern Illinois. They're coming up. They're migrating up. Global warming. We also have armadillos. Maybe I could be the armadillo lady.
Yes. Have you ever seen a baby armadillo?
They're really fuzzy, right? They're very cute.
I didn't know they were fuzzy. I've done no research into this. I saw a picture of a tiny scaly thing that looked like a dragon.
Oh,
and they said
there are dragons.
That's what I thought. I was like, it's a dragon. They were like, it's a baby armadillo. And I did no research to know if it was a fake photo or not. I just went, I was like, oh, okay, I've never seen a baby armadillo.
There's those pangolins. Have you seen?
Yes.
Is it pangolin?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, God, they're cute. They're so cute.
Yeah. I remember that's what everybody said started COVID in the beginning. They were like, it was pangolins. Pangolin. The wet markets.
Did someone fuck a pangolin?
I have no idea. Probably.
Everyone's like, oh, you fucked an animal.
I think they were just, maybe
this is how people get sick. We're out.
Maybe. But I actually, now that you said that, I didn't know that Menard was a prison.
Yeah.
You said that, and I was thinking like,
Menard,
like save big money, you know. Like,
I could become the lighting queen of Menards and just like move in there. Yeah. That wouldn't be bad.
Get out of my house, like that. You got.
Yeah, I mean, I could. There are mattresses there. There are kitchens.
That's true.
They have
food.
They have so much food. I know that it's not like nobody wants to make a zombie apocalypse plan anymore, but that's a good spot.
It is.
I think everyone would go to like Walmart. People would go to Sam's. They aren't even going to be thinking about Menards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know how packed Bass Pro Shop's going to be?
Yeah.
You know, Walmart, things like that. People would I think they would skip right over Menards, and that's a pretty. I think
there's construction.
Yeah.
Is it construction equipment when
I
it's
would
just
say
like plywood? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what counts.
I actually said this yesterday, is that I don't know how to build a patio, but I built a studio. So construction equipment. Let's just go with that. Yeah. Construction. Yeah. I would love to. Oh, that is a good one. I think that probably would be the best place to hang out. What's the best way to tell if someone's a bad person?
That's a really good question.
We all try not to judge people.
Jeez. Here's my problem. I am a very bad judge of character. Like, and Kendall Reeves is like told me, like, you always, even if someone has been real shitty to you, you always think that they can rehabilitate their character. You always expect the best of them. So honestly, I don't know. I'm just like buy a bunch of magic beans lady. Like I believe almost anything.
Well, I do have some property in Florida if you're interested. I would say like littering. Littering is a big one. Not returning your shopping cart to the little cart.
Those are. Yeah, just some like petty things that would be so simple for you to do, but you don't do it is a pretty good sign. But I mean, I also feel like I've done some of those things too. No, not the shopping cart so much. I have like now in retrospect, I think of smoking as littering, like throwing cigarette butts out a window, and I did that all the time.
Oh, but man. Last night I was outside the Funny Bone and someone was smoking a cigarette and they were leaning against the cigarette butt receptacle, and then flicked it. And I was like,
nuts. It's right there. I was like,
it was right there. All you have to do is just put it in. And he was like, there are so many cigarette butts on the ground. And I go, because people
Yeah,
like you
you're
are flicking.
part of the problem.
Exactly. And he refused to believe that it was his fault. And I was like, he was like, there's 100 of them. And I said, yeah, but how many weeks in a row have you come out here and flicked a cigarette
Sure. So like
into
20-something of those are yours.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, if everybody would just do the right thing, just do the right, like just, boom, that's all you had to do. And it would be a problem solved. I did see one person one night, and I refused to talk to this person more than I have to because of this. They finished a beer, and then they grabbed it by the neck and just threw it.
That's fucking nuts.
Outside
Was that
of Westport. That's
crazy.
Yeah, it just shattered all over the ground.
That's horrible. That could really hurt someone.
I just looked at him, and I was like, what's your deal? Why would you do that? And he goes, it's not, who cares, man? This place is a dump. And I was like, because you're treating it like a dump. Like it would have done less effort to toss it into the trash can. And I was just like, I think I'm done with you.
I thought of something that really like lets me know, like unkindness to animals. And I know torturing an animal is like a definite sign of a serial killer, but just like real like being cold towards an animal, or like maybe like kicking it away or something like that. If you don't like I've seen people like kick a cat away, or like not drop kick the cat, not kick it so hard that you're like damaging internal organs or whatever, but just like
shooing it.
In an overly mean way.
It's I would say, I guess it kind of depends on the animal. Yeah. Like if a possum came up to me, or like my kids, I'd probably be like, that's close enough.
Well, okay, yeah. But you're not like
kicking it.
You're not like winding up and like
like get a running start.
Yeah.
Like Charlie Brown in a football,
That's different. My ex-husband kicked my dog.
Oh.
And like,
yeah, that would have been a red flag.
That was a definite, like, I had this, well, she was very bouncy. I have a Jack Russell, and she was very bouncy when she was, that would have been like 12 years ago, and he kicked her. Ugh. And I think we were already like, we may have already been married when I saw it, but that made me think he's been doing this all along. Like he was comfortable doing it in front of me. He's been, because we were together for like 6 years before that. So
it is hard to paint someone as just a bad person off of just one example, because you're like, they learned this from watching someone else or whatever, you know. And then they always say like hurt people or whatever, but also at the same time, like, you gotta kind of know. You're doing something.
And I have this problem where I look at a person, I'm like, they have this whole complex tapestry of issues, right? And so I can understand why they did this to me. But just because they have all of those fucking problems doesn't mean that they need to like shit on me. Like, it hurts me. Like, why am I putting up with your bullshit if it hurts me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to, it's weird because you have to draw the line of like, how much of this am I going to accept before that makes sense. Yeah. So but yeah, littering is you're a bad person. if you litter, you just, cigarette butts, that's the one thing. If you're driving and you flick a cigarette butt out.
Yeah, but I didn't even think about that until like a little, like maybe a year ago or something. Like it started to like, because I didn't have a car last summer, and so I was my car was in the shop, and so I was walking a lot, and I would see all of the cigarette butts, and I'm like, oh God, I'm the problem here. Like, I do this is gross.
It is hard though. It is, I mean, it is sometimes you want to do the right thing, and so you focus on doing one right thing, and then you realize that you've neglected like 7 other things, and you're like, oh, I just traded one vice for another. Like, I am a bad person. What's your best day at work ever? It doesn't have to be your current job, but like, did you ever have like a summer job, or it could be, I mean.
I had a job where my first law job was like my dream job. In retrospect, when I was doing it day to day, I probably would not have said that it was my dream job because it was hard and I got paid very little. I was working for a nonprofit in East St. Louis doing landlord-tenant work, and it was very, very rewarding. I often had, and this would never happen at, say, a corporate law firm. This would never happen at a private firm. But I had, I saved an elderly lady's house, and she brought me a cheesecake.
Oh, that's the ultimate reward. I'd be like, I don't need money. Yeah. I'll do, what was it? Just an original cheesecake?
It was cheesecake with like this glazed strawberry topping, and then like little chocolate pieces.
I'd be like, let's see if we can get you a bigger house. Let's double down.
Yeah.
We already won once. Let's
no whammies, no whammies.
Yeah, let's let it ride. Come on. Come on, Edna, you and me.
It felt good. I would often get, one time I got another really good day there was one of the people that I had filed a lawsuit against, a really bad landlord who had harassed his tenant, like tried to get sexual favors from her. Sent an op-ed into the local paper about how terrible the nonprofit that I worked for was, because we helped poor people, and it was like, oh, and then poor people go and get a free lawyer. Why don't I get a free lawyer? And it was just like, it was so gratifying to read. And out of that, there was a shock radio jock in Illinois, and his name was, I can't remember. He was a huge piece of shit. He'd like say the N-word on the radio, and he called me a bitch on the radio, and that was like,
actually is kind of I would wear that with pride, though. You know, like,
no, I totally. I was so glad that they were mad at me, because that means I was doing good work, fighting.
That is kind of cool, though, when somebody that you despise, you realize hates you. You're like, oh, I must be doing something right. Okay,
I'm doing
cool.
it the right way.
Yeah. Not that I try to get anyone to hate me, but usually when there's someone who I just adamantly disagree with, and then they're like, you are just stupid, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
This is what I want.
I'm winning. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so concerned about winning all the time, so I really am.
I think everybody's a little competitive, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's nothing... So long as you keep it dialed in, you know, there's nothing wrong with competition.
I feel like I really like push it down pretty far, and I don't let people know, but it's in there. It's just
it's hard, especially in comedy, because like you want your friends to succeed. You know, you don't want to be.
And I'm very happy for their success, but
also,
what about me? Yeah. When's Cori getting a taste?
Yeah, there are definitely times where you see somebody's like hosting a show, and you're like, "Good, hey, congrats, that's so awesome!" And then behind, like, "Oh man, what can I get? You know, come on, man, I could do this." I'm not saying I'm better than them. I'm just saying, you know, like I could also do an equal job of the same, you know. But that was such a.
You're like, I could be on The Future is Female. I, Eric Rueseler. Why aren't I headlining The Future is Female?
It is. That's such a good show, and it always gets such a good crowd. I'm kind of like, man, I wish I could apply. You know, just like, hey, Meredith, I know I don't really meet the requirements, but
you need some allies. Just say you're an ally.
Yeah. Just be like, hey, if anybody needs
you could do 5 minutes out on the sidewalk, maybe.
Hey, I'm a father figure. If anybody needs a hug, you know, I could just, you know, like, no, okay, all right.
A little problematic.
Yeah, a little yeah, I'm so sorry. I apologize. Just to show up and be like, yep, I'm the reason this show exists. I am the. What's the best holiday?
I really like the 4th of July.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like Thanksgiving. I like food, and like there's no real commercialism tied to it. It's just kind of like you just get to hang out and eat good food, and everyone's kind of like chill. And I don't like gift giving holidays. I don't like I feel like we're compelled to buy shit that nobody needs, and it's pretty gross. But I like holidays where you can play games. I love the 4th of July because like outdoor games are my shit. I love barbecue. I love fireworks, as ridiculous as that is. I love, like, they're so pretty, and like everybody, like, how can you not be impressed?
Well, my whole thing,
gorgeous.
Those are my two favorite holidays, Thanksgiving and 4th of July, for sure. My thing about the 4th of July is that I love it because everyone knows America is not perfect, right? But it's supposed to be this idea of a place where it could be perfect.
Yeah.
And it's like every time I see people celebrate the 4th of July, I'm like, oh, this person's in for one more year of trying to make it better.
Yeah.
And so
that's a really nice way to look at it.
That's the way I think about it. It's like, hey, none of us agree on everything. None of us are thinking the exact same way, but we're all going to come together because we want this to work. We're going to try to make it work. Like, and if you're celebrating, that means you're on board. Like, hey, let's make it. Maybe this is the year we figure it out or whatever.
Yeah.
Probably not, but probably not, but
unlikely.
We're going to keep trying. And that's what I like about 4th of July is that I love it that people celebrate. I love, it's
an idealism and optimism, that we rarely share with each other. And as divisive as election season is too, it kind of feels like that can be part of it, but mostly we just fight about.
Yeah. I can't stand. I hate politics more than anything. Like I don't know. When somebody talks to me and when I meet someone and usually like very quickly they'll start talking politics, and I'm like, do you not have anything else that you're interested in? Do you not have any other aspect to your life that you care about? Like, I understand these are very important issues and they need to be talked about and stuff like that, but if we're just hanging out, like, you haven't seen any good movies lately, like, and it's just like,
it is divisive,
and it also it's kind of heavy because there's so many things that are wrong. How do we fix it? How do we get started? And I heard someone say the other day that at this point there are no solutions. They're just, how did they word it? There's no solutions. It's just different options which will create new problems. And it's like, maybe that's pessimistic to look at it, but at the same time, like, why can't we all just, when we hang out, when comedians hang out, or you go to a comedy show or whatever, and people get together, they don't talk politics most of the time. They talk about jokes and food and recipes and movies and stuff like that. Like, so we all
connecting things. Those are like things that build community and connection.
And I think that Thanksgiving and 4th of July are two great examples of that, because people get together and they're just like, hey, let's eat a pecan pie and
let's eat a dangerous amount of marshmallows
sugars
on top of potatoes.
Let's teach our kids how to set marshmallows on fire and then put it directly in your mouth.
It's a really good idea.
Yeah, just blow on it. I know it looks burnt, but it's not. Just the inside's like lava, but
these carcinogens are gonna be real bad for you in about 40 years.
Come on, kids, gather around the campfire, breathe in this smoke. It's gonna be fine. No, I do. I couldn't agree more. Thanksgiving and
I feel like we're answering a lot of these questions right. I feel like we are finding the best things right now.
I think we are. I really
think we are.
We could iron this out.
For sure. Give me more power to make decisions for everyone.
What's your best childhood memory?
Oh, Jesus. Oh, boy.
I'm always skeptical to ask this because some people have had really like traumatic childhoods, and you're like,
oh God, I had a pretty rough one. And I never would have said that, I probably wouldn't have put words to that like a few years ago. I would have been like, they did their best, but like, it was pretty hard. I think my best memories were when I would perform. When I was a kid, I got to do a lot of, because I was, I needed an outlet for all of my trauma. That's trauma. Bleh. So I would get to like, some of my teachers would give me like a part of class where I could be like, where I could talk so that I didn't talk over them.
You told me that you did comedy speech writing?
When I was in high school. Yeah,
Okay.
when I was in high school, my first introduction to doing stand-up was doing original comedy speech in high school. And so I did competitions, and I did really well. And I got a scholarship to Bradley and Peoria, but then, I had a baby. And I mean, it's not that simple. Like, there were other things that went into, like, why I didn't do that. But, like, that was, like, my introduction to doing stand-up was writing a 7-minute set for competitions that had to be clean, and that was hard. And but I had like in church, my mother took me to church, and I would get to monopolize everyone's time during the church service because I was such a spaz. Like, I was always so spazzy, just like, let me talk in a microphone. So this was inevitable, I think.
That is kind of funny that you use church to kind of like, whatever, because in school, when I was real young, I went to a Christian school. And then, long story short, I got asked to leave at some point. But every day they would take prayer requests. Yeah. And so that was my time to shine. Every day, like, who has something they need to pray about? I do. And it just story after story after story. Maybe it was true, maybe it wasn't true, but like.
I was a big fan of maybe not true.
Yeah, if I can get a laugh or a chuckle or something, then we're going to make it through math class. It's going to be fine,
Yeah.
That was my time to shine. It was to the point where when I would raise my hand, the teacher would be like, Eric, what do you have to say today?
How many of your ants are dying now? How many ants could you have left?
No, that's the. So sorry, you were saying childhood memory.
Yeah, I can't. And it's funny now.
It's hard to pinpoint.
Yeah, it's because they're all kind of like the same memory, and maybe that's from the bad stuff too, but it's all kind of like one kind of like blobby memory of my childhood where I just I needed the attention, I got the attention. It's about the same thing as doing stand-up. I need the fix, I got the fix. Great.
Yeah. I'm kind of the opposite of you. I used to think I had a really bad childhood, like a really tough, strict childhood. And then I went to the military, and I would talk to people, and they'd be like, oh, well, did you have a hard life? And I was like, yeah, I did. And they were like, oh, yeah. When was the first time you got raped? And I was like, I think maybe I need to change my answer. I think you had a very hard child. I actually maybe had a pretty good one.
That was.
I'm so sorry. So it's funny how you
joke about the rape now. It's fine.
I'm glad you can, because you said it, and I was like, I'm sorry. Would you like some coffee? I'm so sorry. I have nothing to offer. Last night I was hanging out with someone, and they were. I don't want to say their name in case they didn't want me to say this or whatever, but they were having a conversation. It was two people in the LGBTQ community, and they were having a discussion about how there's a difference between gay and queer.
Yeah.
And they were saying that they hate gay people because, and they listed a bunch of reasons and stuff, and I was sitting there and I'm just like, oh, okay. I don't want to comment either way.
Sure.
Because it could be taken out of context. And I was just like, huh, all right. What's the best way to make you cry?
Any time about 8 days before I start my period, show me any video of anything. Just whatever it is.
Are you a crier?
Yes.
I'm a big crier.
But only only for like 3 days. And then the rest of the month, I'm like, I'm so emotionally constipated.
I am constantly, I guess I'm constantly 8 days away from my period because anything will make me cry.
Oh, really?
There's
That's so sweet.
so many things. Any commercial that's just the slightest bit touching, anything to do with animals.
Yeah.
Homeward Bound.
Yeah. I've just seen a picture of something with like an animal with like big, soft, wet eyes. And I'm like, oh God, I hope you're loved. I hope someone loves you.
I'll take care of you. Come live with me. There was another one. Movies, any type of sentimental movie.
That does it for me.
There's a movie that came out about 10 years ago. It's called About Time. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Who's in it?
Rachel McAdams.
Okay, I haven't. I've never watched any of those kinds of movies. I've never seen The Notebook. I've never watched.
Really?
Yeah, those things. I do like sentimental movies, but it has to be like an indie kind of.
This was an indie. Okay, so it's very strange when I explain it, but then you watch it and you're like, oh, this is fun. It's a British movie, even though Rachel McAdams is in it.
Okay.
I can't remember the guy.
Does she talk with a Cockney accent?
No, she's the only American. Adorable. She's the only normal person.
Hi, I'm Rachel McAdams. I'm here in this movie.
I'm English, I am. Isn't it?
Point me towards the lift. You call it a lift here. Where's the lift?
I've got me suitcase in the boot.
That was almost Canadian. She could do that. She's versatile. She could do it all.
Did you see how quickly we reached the extent of my English vocabulary? It was just like,
really
isn't it? No, it's a great movie. It starts off as like a rom-com.
Okay.
But then it ends as like it's all about this there's this guy, and I can't remember his name. He's been in if I showed you a picture, you'd be like, oh, I think I've seen that guy before. The whole purpose of the movie is that his dad tells him on his 21st birthday that he can go back in time in his own life. And so you think like, oh, it's a time travel movie, but it's not really. It's like him like getting in weird situations and then redoing it and like trying to play it smoother the next time,
Kind of like the sexier Click.
Yeah. Yeah. But
sexier Britisher Click.
It starts off as a rom-com, and by the end of it, it's all about him trying to get like little extra moments with his family who are dying, so he'll go back to relive at a moment. And
Waterworks.
Yeah, I watched it last week after someone in my family fell and hit their head.
Oh my
God! And had to go to the hospital. And then after they got out of the hospital,
why'd you do that to yourself?
I spent time with them, and they were like, "Hey, let's watch this movie," and I was just like. The whole time, like just trying. Sometimes when you're like, don't breathe, because if you breathe, you cry. So you're like, just sitting there. And they looked over and they're like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. It's a great movie. I love it." It's that movie gets me every time.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm doing it.
Oh,
I'm doing it.
It's good. I think
this is gonna be my new best way to cry.
Oh, I guarantee you by the end of the movie, I don't know.
My new best way to cry is a relative's traumatic brain injury.
Yeah, right? Something about that'll do it, No, and then the last like 5 minutes of Homeward Bound.
Oh, yeah.
When Shadow is limping across the field.
God.
And they're just like... he doesn't show up at first, and they're like, he was too old, son. He was just too old. It was too far. He couldn't make it. And they're all about to turn in and go inside. And then he comes out of the brushes, and he's limping, and you're just like, oh, my God. Like that. Everybody makes fun of me because I cry. My kids will put it on purposefully just to watch me cry.
Oh, my
at the
God.
end. And I'm like, you guys are evil. I don't understand. You guys have never loved anything. You don't know. That and anything to do with like, have you ever seen the videos of like soldiers coming home from deployment and then the dog runs out and greets them?
Sure,
and you're just like,
yeah.
It doesn't ever get me the family
right,
thing.
It's so much better than a parent when your dog remembers you.
Yeah, with the thing that, I don't want to do it because Robert Allen Hall has a great bit about it, but I was just... It's a great. Well, I'll clip this out, but he's got a bit where he talks about how like soldiers surprise people at like football games or baseball games, but it's always at halftime, and it's like he's been there all day. Like he could have, he could have been like, "Hey guys, I'm here if you want to hang out or spend some extra time," but instead he waited 6 hours just for this big cinematic moment.
What a fucking dick.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Get it together, buddy. You're so selfish.
Exactly. Like his kids were like, "When's Dad coming back?" You know?
Never. Oh.
Yeah. What's the best thing you've ever made?
Oh. Geez, you know, I am a fairly crafty person, and so I've made I paint, and I've made I think my favorite thing that I've made, and I cook a lot, or I did when I had people to cook for. I don't really anymore, but I think my favorite thing that I've made is I painted a picture of my dog Izzy, as I call her Isbot, and Isbot, and I painted a picture of Isbot as a robot, as like the Tin Man. It's very cute. I like it very much.
I do feel a little sorry for your child right now, but I thought maybe that would be like, as a mother, you'd be like, "Oh, my child would be the best."
No.
Painting of my dog.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
My dog
knows.
loves me all the time. Like my dog
That's true.
My dog always is grateful for the food. Is always grateful for the shelter. My dog will shit everywhere, but like my kid doesn't shit all over the place anymore. But
not anymore.
Not anymore, but they did. And
to be fair, there was probably a time where your dog didn't do it either.
Right.
But now, towards the
so old.
Yeah.
So old.
And as your child gets older, they'll probably get back into that as well.
Sure.
Just from watching,
and we're so close in age that it's possible that we'll have to change each other's diapers when we're older.
Hey, why not? Keep it, It's like, hey, I did this for you. Now you do it for me. And
I'll again do it for you.
Yeah, and I'll do it. Yeah. That would be kind of cool if you could share a room at like the nursing home.
And it's possible.
Do you have that kind of relationship? Not to get too personal, but do you have that kind of relationship where you would like kill each other if you had to live in close proximity?
My kid still lives with me, and we live in a duplex, and it is not a big one. And it is too much closeness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's once my dog dies, I'm leaving that. I'm leaving. And like I'm probably moving. What I mean is I'm moving into the city, I think. And so my kid's going to be on their own.
Yay.
Yeah, that'll be good for them.
Yay to moving in the city,
Yes.
not
I just keep talking about my dog dying because I'm trying to like desensitize
it.
myself because there have been in the last like month there have just been times when she was so close.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to
That's the hard part.
I'm trying to I and like anyone, I know that people think that I sound callous, but my dog is 17 years old. She's had a pretty good run, you know?
That's exactly. But I don't think people give enough credit to the death of an animal.
I know. We were talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people would think like, oh, grandparents die, stuff like that. That's up here. And then you say your dog died and they're like, oh, well, yeah, sorry for your loss. But really, it should be reversed. Like, you kind of expect your grandparents to die. You know your dog will die, but also nobody plans for that. Like, to put it in perspective, the day after my grandmother died, my dad went to work at 7:30 instead of 7. But the day after our family dog died, he took 2 days off work because he was just heartbroken. Because like my grandmother had cancer and it was, it was time, But once the dog had to be put down, he was just like, just heartbroken.
Yeah.
And it really is the most traumatic thing. Like,
it's so traumatic. And like, I feel like dogs are so pure and good and they're just pure love. Like I have myriad issues with almost any of my family members, but my dog, aside from the shitting, like my dog has never done me wrong.
See, but that's just, I think because of your dog's age, when you come home, you're like, oh, there's poop on the floor. You're not mad about it.
Oh, no.
However, if I were to go to my parents' house and there was poop on the floor, I'd be like, come on, guys, get your stuff together. What are you doing?
You've been potty trained for at least 40 years.
Let's go.
50 years, probably 50, 60 years. They've been shitting on a regularly basis. Yeah. I don't know how regular your parents are. I don't know that.
They're pretty regular, I think. I think they would agree. Yeah. We could call them if you want. Guys, how regular? Good. Metamucil's kicking in?
Do you have a BM chart around the house? Can you please?
Yeah. Are you guys on that Jamie Lee Curtis yogurt or things working for you? Okay, good.
Kombucha ever?
Yeah. What's the best dessert?
I like brownies and cookies, like hot with some vanilla ice cream, and like a brownie sundae would be my penultimate. I
love a warm brownie with ice cream on top. No, I will really go for. Have you ever had a blondie?
Yes.
Yeah.
With some like maple syrup or caramel.
Caramel drizzle or maple sauce on top. Ooh, I've never done heroin, but I can imagine. I've heard
I could
stories.
Imagine mainlining a blondie.
You're just like cramming it into like a syringe and just trying to like straight in there.
Enema it. Poof. Just a caramel.
That's a good blondie. Oh man, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, it is really good. Yeah, and that's like, but like I think that like old school desserts are really kind of like we're really sleeping on like a pistachio layer cake thing, like the thing with like a cookie base and then like pudding and then like a Cool Whip topping. Like we just don't have those anymore.
Have you ever had baklava? Yeah, baklava is pretty good. That flaky crust, a little bit of chopped up like pistachios, like a cream in the middle, kind of like real flaky. It's hard to, that's one of those things where as a kid you're like, I'm not trying the baklava. Ugh, I don't want to try that. And then you try it, you're like, oh man, maybe there's some better things out there. Maybe the world's not black and white.
That's all it took to like blow your mind. Yeah, some people do hallucinogenics. Eric has Greek dessert.
Yeah, I love dessert so much that like I don't even mind the sweaty feeling you get afterwards, where you're like, oh, what is it like 95 degrees in here? Or is like, oh, is it just me?
That's just your pancreas working, baby.
That's just that glucose or whatever. I know nothing about the human body. I don't know. What is the best movie?
Sunset Boulevard.
Sunset Boulevard.
Oh,
I don't think
gosh.
I've ever seen it.
It's incredibly good. It's a film noir from the late 50s, and William Holden, who Cole Young was obsessed with, who is from O'Fallon, starred in it as a young screenwriter who accidentally ends up at the home of an aging silent movie star, Norma Desmond, and she kind of becomes he becomes her kind of like a kept man, kind of. And it was written by Billy Wilder, the guy who did he did all of the really caustic, funny, dark films from like the late 50s, early 60s. But this particular movie, like before I saw this, I thought like 50s movies were always like, hey kid, you're going to be in the picture. Like this is the first time that I knew that there was sarcasm before like 1985, like it's so funny and dark and sad, and like it's such a great movie. It's incredible. Yeah.
Sad movies are so I love sad movies. It's someone who's trying to devote their life to making people laugh. I love sad songs, sad commercials, sad.
I just want to cry all the time.
It's the only way I can feel.
No, I think you'd like this. Well, I think everyone would like it. It's like it's tragic in And you expect it to be tragic because the opening scene is tragic, and it just gets tragicer.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love movies that are...
And funny. It's so fucking funny. Like when he first walks in, when he goes into the house for the first time, they're having a funeral for her pet chimp who died. Like, it's really weird, and it's very... And it was like I did not know that until I was... I saw this probably when I was in my early 20s for the first time. And I had no idea that they made movies like this before, before the 80s, 90s. And because I thought people weren't jaded until then. I was so wrong.
No, they were.
Yeah,
because you think about the 50s
Yeah.
and stuff like that. You think about, like, Leave It to Beaver.
Sure, and American idealism, and we are, we're winning the space race, and we are, we're just out of World War II, and we're number one.
We're number one. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
This movie is not like that.
I do like that. I like it when you see a different side of things that you didn't, like, oh, okay, so there've always been depressed people. There have always been,
yeah, and
manic...
that's what that movie. And then I read, when I was in college, I read Voltaire by Candide, and it was the first satire written, and it was written during the Enlightenment. Probably, I think it was written in like the 17th century, maybe 18th century. But like, it's also so dark. All of these tragic things keep happening to him, and he's like trying to maintain his optimism. And like, I just didn't know like these things that I would identify with existed. People have felt this way, and these aren't the voices that you hear. You don't hear people who are just like, oh, we were always just kind of just plugging along.
I love satires.
Yeah.
I did. That was one of those things I discovered later, and I was like, oh, you can do this. You can just. Oh, okay. You can make fun of something that's already okay. I like that. I don't like people that take themselves too serious. And some things. One of my favorite. Well, I guess my favorite example of that is I read a book one time called Lamb, and it's the story of Jesus as told by his best friend Biff. And Biff follows Jesus around, and like they get into like they travel the world, and they're like, okay, we're gonna start this religion, but we got to set up the rules and stuff like that. And so Biff is there, and Jesus will pay a prostitute to sleep with Biff and describe it, and then be like, okay, well, here are what you can't do from now on. And like they meet like characters and stuff like that. It was very, very funny.
Yeah, I look for that. That sounds really good.
It is fun.
I would like that.
It's by Christopher Moore. He has a lot of. He did another one called Fool, which have you ever
know that name?
You know the name. You know King Lear, the story. He does. It's the story of King Lear, but it's told by the court jester, the fool, and then he hangs out with a mentally challenged person, and I don't even know if they give him a name. They just. It's not very politically correct, but it was very funny, and I did like it. So that's it's a dumbed down version. I feel like yours was up here, and mine's like, that's cute.
It's the same.
Is it cartoon? Were there pictures? Like,
no, it's the same.
One or two. Ooh, when was the best time to be alive?
Gosh. It's tough.
Yeah, because it all depends on where you are, For
me or for, like, anybody?
For you, when do you think you would have thrived? When's the best? I mean, it could
not
be
what I've already experienced, but, like, if I could...
Any time period, yeah.
I think I would have... Boy, I think I would have really liked to... I think I would have loved to live in, like... I don't know, though. I'd say, like, no, I don't know that I would really like it. No, I'd say, like, Great Gatsby kind of era. But, like, if I could live just maybe, like, 6 months of that. But, like, there wasn't air conditioning. Yeah. Like, nobody bathed. Like, the clothes were, like, very uncomfortable. Women weren't really people.
Yeah.
You know, like if I could live in Baz Luhrmann's The Great Gatsby, I would love that, but I don't think I'd really like it.
Yeah, if you were part of the upper 1% of the country, Great Gatsby time would be great. But if you weren't,
right?
If you were in
if I were the gal getting
Dust Bowl,
if I were the gal getting hit by the car in The Great Gatsby,
the
whore who gets like run over, that would be rough. But
that would be rough. But if you were Daisy, it turns out all right
good
for her.
Yeah, maybe I'd just be 16 again and like doing LSD and getting banged out all the time. Like working at a grocery store, no real responsibilities, just like boozing on the weekends and just having bad teenage sex
decisions. Yeah. I think I would go with either ancient Greece.
Oh, that's
maybe,
a good one.
just
maybe
to see,
so.
Like, oh, that seems like it would be fun. Or maybe ancient Rome.
Oh, not Pompeii though. Don't go there.
I say ancient Rome, but if you end up as a gladiator, that's a much different story than.
I can't imagine like. What if there is an afterlife and you have to be the Pompeii guy who is like jacking off and like frozen forever jacking off, and like you can see people being like, oh look, that guy got caught jacking off for eternity, and you're just like, oh no, it's me. Oh, it's so embarrassing.
It's that guy. And you're like, oh come on, man, that was. One time, I was just like,
do you know what was happening?
Yeah.
I was just trying to fall asleep.
Yeah, I had just gotten off a post. I had marched 17 miles that day. I was tired. I was lonely.
I gotta do it to fall asleep.
I got to the whorehouse. My favorite prostitute was already gone. I just. And everybody's like, ew, ew.
Oh,
yeah, that one would be terrible. What's the best news you've heard this week?
I think it's those guys at the bottom of the ocean.
I do. I'm not super sympathetic about it.
Yeah, that's Schadenfreude. Mwah, the best.
So to go back to the conspiracy theory, what if one of them was about to cure cancer, and then they went down in the... what if they own some pharmaceutical company?
What a fucking prick. What a fucking prick. Because why wouldn't he do it first?
Yeah, why not release cancer? Be like, guys, next week we're going to come out with this new drug. And then, I guess that one doesn't make much sense,
What an asshole.
Yeah, but you do hear about... I have heard about people that invented cars that ran off water and then they die mysteriously.
This is like a whole Hillary Clinton kind of like Illuminati.
Oh, well, I was thinking more CIA. That's my... I try to
you don't
stay
think
out
that
of politics.
Hillary Clinton's murdering people, is that... That's a conspiracy theory, right?
Yeah. She's not the only one. I'm not.
A woman couldn't do it alone.
Yeah, exactly, Corey. Come on. It's hard to plan a hit from the kitchen. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just go straight down to massage. It's like, oh no, this guy's oh no, he's not. No, but I mean, it can't just be everybody. I grew up in a mostly conservative area, and then. So a lot of people that I grew up with, they're anti the Clintons and anti this and stuff like that. And then I'm
so leftist that I'm also.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think you can be so leftist liberal that you're also you're on the same team.
The crazy thing is the people I know that hate the Clintons love the Bushes, and it's
that's weird.
like George H.W. Bush was head of the CIA when Kennedy was assassinated, and then immediately became vice president a couple years later, and then president, and you're like, that's a little
and everything that
So I don't think there's any. I think once you get to that level of power and
it's all just it's all take one head off this person and put it on this person and bop, 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 bop. It's all the same. They're all kind of playing for the same team.
That's why I kind of feel like there aren't earlier we were there's no solutions. It's just a different options, which leads to new problems. So.
Yeah, the problem is moneyed people, and 5 of them are on the bottom of the ocean.
It's a start. That's funny because they used to say that about lawyers. You know, like, what do you call lawyers? 100 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean. Oh, it's a good start, or whatever. Now it's billionaires.
I agree. Wish I was there.
You dive in after the submarine. Yeah, I would say that. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't feel a lot of sympathy. Like,
I don't.
Just like when I see Ben Johnson told me the other day, because I send him videos on Instagram of people getting hurt, and he's like, "Why do you enjoy this?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's not that I don't want to see people get hurt, but when someone's doing something stupid and then they get hurt,
it's comeuppance.
It's like."
It's
okay.
comeuppance.
You play stupid
Why are you
games,
sending
you win stupid
them
prizes.
to someone who doesn't want to see
Well, I didn't know that. See, the thing is that like I have a very dark, twisted sense of humor. Yeah. So sometimes people will send me videos of like, oh, this kid does a skateboard trick and falls and breaks his wrist, and he's like, oh, and they send it to me. I'm like, oh, well, if you like that, here's this video, and then people are like, what's wrong with you? They're just like, oh my gosh. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you like dark stuff. They're just like, that was
too much.
Too much, man. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Well, we're learning the boundaries. Man, we'll back it off a little bit, and then I'll send it to you. Send you another thing. And they're like, no, this one's still. And you're like, okay. All right. Like, I don't like, somebody sent me a video one time of this person who was sitting and eating at a cafe, and a car just like drove through the. And I was like, that's terrible. They didn't do anything wrong, you know? Like, I don't want to see that. But I do like it when you see someone who's, like, texting and driving and then they run into, those water-filled barrels or whatever. That makes me laugh. I'm like, well, that's what you get, you know? I don't know. Stuff like that makes me... So.
Schadenfreude. Classic Schadenfreude. I like it, too.
Yeah. I mean...
I like comeuppance.
Yeah,
it's nice to think that there is some kind of karmic repercussion for stupidity. And I don't know that there is, but it's nice to think that. I think there's mostly just chaos.
I think it is too. But I do like to think that, you know, if you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, and there's lots of people out there playing stupid games, and it's like, okay, I don't want bad things to happen to you, but
people play stupid games and then they win fun prizes.
I know, that's the worst. Like when you see someone
like a slide whistle. Boo.
Wah, wah. The thing that gets me is when, I don't know if you've ever done this working at clubs, but there'll be a TikTok star or someone who has millions and millions of followers, and now they're selling out rooms and selling tickets. And then you watch the show and you're like, you're not very funny because you don't know what you're doing, you know? And it's hard for me to not be jealous of that.
I've only had really good experiences with one. Yeah. Kevin James Thornton was the TikTok guy and he's a gay man who he did stand up. Mm-hmm. He became a photographer, and then he became a TikTok guy during the pandemic. And so like he had a background in stand up.
Well, that makes sense. I mean,
but he was only at the club because of his TikTok following.
But he
was
put
so
in the
great.
work.
Yeah.
You know, he put like I have no problem with that. Like, because it's hard to go to open mics. It's hard to convince yourself to go try out new jokes and bomb in front of people that, I mean, I can't tell you the number of shows I've done where it's like, all right, guys, the comedy show's about to start in 5 minutes, and everybody goes, the what? You know, like, we had no idea. Like, we were just out to...
hurts.
And you're like, okay, I've been looking forward to this for months, and you didn't even know.
Just like that searing, hot embarrassment feeling when you're doing comedy for people who don't want to see it. And you're just like, oh, God, this is...
And that you get that sweat that builds up at the back, and you like the small of your back, and you can just feel the warmth going, and you're like, no one's listening. It's so hard when you start a bit, and you're like, maybe this will win them over, and it's a longer bit, and you can just, you're losing them as you talk, and you're like, do I finish the bit, or do I just bail, or do I...
I have a few new weird things that I've written that there is no escape route on. Like, if I'm in it for 8 minutes.
Yeah. That's it's so hard to know what to do, and you're like, but that's how you get better. And then eventually, if we ever do get to the point where we're selling tickets, now we'll be prepared, you know, to handle these situations, which I think most of the TikTok stars I've ever worked with are, you know, not just TikTok, but, you know, social media, that people that pop and you're like, oh, you're doing a character, but that character is used to 30-second chunks,
Sure.
and you don't know how to do 45.
I think, though, also, like, their audiences aren't as discerning, and so they're going to do fine no matter what, because, like, an undiscerning audience will hear, like a meme tag. You know what I mean? Like, they'll hear something from a meme that makes everyone laugh, and because they hear it out in the wild, like, it makes them laugh. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
like, they will do what we consider hack material, or, like, stuff that they've not written or whatever. And they're going to do just fine because, like, their audience will hear that, oh, it's funny when someone says, yeah.
I think that collectively, in large groups, people are dumb. I mean, Fast and Furious movies make billions of dollars, but it doesn't mean they're good movies, you know? But if people are told that this is good, they'll go see it and be like, oh, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I liked it, you know?
Yeah.
And you're like, did you? And then when they think about it, they're like, no, actually, I don't think I did like
Yeah.
it, you know?
Yeah, I do that to myself, too. I have a lot of euphoric recall is what it's called. You have a fonder picture of the past than maybe it deserves.
Yeah. Well, that's
remember things more positively.
That's a good point, because a lot of, like, my military days, you think back to the good old days, and at the time you were like, this is not fun. But then that's the stuff that you talk about. That's the stuff. Next week, I've got a buddy of mine who's going to come he's going to come do the podcast, and then we're going to go do some mics and stuff just to hang out. We haven't seen each other in years.
And he was a military friend?
Yeah.
And he does stand up also?
No.
Oh, okay.
He just wants to hang. He likes to listen to. Shout out to Trevor.
Hi, Trevor.
Yeah.
Can't wait to meet you at Mike's.
Yeah, it'll be, I think it's next Monday. So if you go to Heavy Anchor.
I'll probably be there.
Yeah. He's a very cool guy.
Maybe yes, I will be.
What's funny is that I haven't seen him in years, but I remember him being like a foot shorter than me, maybe 120 pounds lighter than me. But when we were on deployment, somebody took a picture of him and one of my other buddies, Josh, and they put it up on this, like, Facebook page for all the families to look, because we didn't have computers and stuff. Like, so they were just like, here's a photo dump, and my mom saw that picture and thought it was me, and sent it out as a Christmas card to everyone.
Oh, no.
And I was
I don't know what you...
I didn't see it till 6 months later, and I was like, Mom, that's not me. And she was like, yes, it is. It's you. And I was like, no, it's not me. And she was like, well, don't tell anybody because it's everywhere. It was on my grandmother's refrigerator until the day she died.
Oh, my gosh.
And we went to her house after the funeral, and I was just like, that's not. I was the only grandchild not on the refrigerator, and she was just like, "Yeah, that's Eric," and I was like, "Yeah, sure, okay, yeah." So little does he know, he actually, I think a copy of the photo, because she wanted to be buried with photos of all her grandkids, and so I think he ended up in the casket, which.
Does that mean he gets some of the inheritance? Is that by law? Well, I should know that.
I know. I think. I was about to say. I think I owe him. You know, I might. You know, or at least some cookies or something. You know, she did make some pretty good cookies, but they were much better once they were frozen, and we still have 3 of them in a freezer. And she's been gone for about 6 years now.
Oh, are you just, like, waiting to break them
Well,
out
we're waiting, but I'm also kind of hoping that one of my cousins will be like, hey, you still got those cookies? Because the supply and demand is in my favor. You know what I mean? Like, I could get premium.
It's like bog butter. Like, people will pay thousands for an ounce of bog butter. It can't possibly be good.
I've never even heard of bog
really?
butter, but knowing what a bog is, I can't imagine. Like,
so it's butter that, like, these Neanderthal villages, or, you know, like bog people. You're familiar with the bog people, the hunters who, like, fall into the bog. Well, they've got a little pouch with butter in it, or butter has been put into the bog to, like, keep it cold. That's the only way they could keep things cold. But they found some of these, like, bags of butter, and it's still edible, and so people will buy it as a delicacy and then eat it. That's
All
see, like if you have like some dying in a submarine money,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
also
I was about to say
like,
you have more money than than brains.
Yeah, you also have bog butter money.
It's like the people that buy like rhino tusks or whatever, and you're like this. They're like, this is a aphrodisiac or something like that. And you're like,
up,
is it? Because it's made out of the same material as your fingernails, so. Why don't you just chew on those? You know, like ready to go. What's the best way to relax after a long day?
Well, I never relax. I think it's crying. Crying is nice.
Putting
like
on
nice
a good sad movie.
Release valve. I am pretty I'm pretty on edge all the time. I'm kind of like an anxious, like I think about stuff a lot. I guess the thing that I'm doing right now to relax after tough days is I like to dance a lot. I took ballet for 10 years when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so right now I'm taking dance classes at a studio called Yes Honey. And it's like cool kids dance. So it's like hip hop dance, and
is that
I don't even know if that's
you
what
and Emily Hooper do?
Yeah.
I've
and
seen
it's
you
so
guys
fun.
talk about it before.
It's so fucking fun. It's so great, and like it feels like there's like a real sense of community because it's all kind of like there are a lot of the instructors are queer people or people of color who bring in like it's just so diverse and so fun, and it's like all of these different kinds of people like getting together and dancing, and like so fun.
There's something like that in Cape. One of my friends, Kwaku, he was born in Africa. He moved here. He opened up his own gym. But one of the things he does in the summertime is he puts on a multicultural dance party.
It's so cool.
Where they like bring out speakers and they'll go to like a tennis court or like a big area. And he just leads like a dance, like it's like a 1 hour like dance and stuff, but it's also an exercise workout thing. And he has, 40, 50 people out there and they all dance and stuff.
Fun.
Yeah, it looks, it scares me to death because apart from taking my clothes off or singing karaoke, dancing in front of people is one of the things that makes me just super, because I'm very stiff. I'm not a loose person. I can't relax.
Yeah.
And music does not interest me in the slightest. I used to play trumpet, and I liked doing that. But
how long did you play trumpet for?
1 year.
1 year.
1 year in school. But
what grade were you in?
7th.
Okay.
7th grade. We had to practice 30 minutes a day.
Yeah. Okay.
And I found out that in the very back of our song book that they gave us was "Oh Canada," and it was 3 minutes long. And I was like, all I have to do is play this 10 times, and then I've used up my whole 30 minutes. So I would never practice the song that I was supposed to practice. I would only practice "Oh Canada" because it ate up the most time. And my parents were always like, why are you up there just playing? And I was just like, I feel patriotic. I don't know.
But not even to our country.
Yeah, not to our country.
I just like curling. I like poutine. I like
maple syrup.
Yeah, it's
mousse. But then
those crazy hats
I always
Mounties wear.
I always did fairly bad in the class. Like I was towards the back. Like they always put it. They always put, if it goes by chair, first chair, second chair. I was always like 12th chair. And then our big final at the end of the year, they were like, oh, let's pick a song to play.
Wait a minute. What's coming? Yeah. It's Eric's moment to shine.
Somebody was like, let's pick "Oh Canada." It's in the back of the book. And I was like, and I didn't say anything.
You were like,
I was like, this is my time. Like
you turned into fucking Louis Armstrong.
I'm like Michael Bublé, he's singing backup. But, I mean, I just crushed the final because I had practiced it every day for the last 9 months, And the teacher was just like, where did that come from? And I was like, I don't know. I was feeling it, I guess. I don't know. And so he let me sit in the first chair for the last, 5 days of class. And there was this girl who had been first chair the entire year, and she was so mad.
Was she, taking her trunk, right in your ear.
Yeah. Just right here, yeah, pretty much.
I played the flute for about 2 months, but I have I was never a dedicated practicer, and I have a tear lip which is like Cupid's bow right here. And it's supposedly like, once my teacher told me that was part of the reason I couldn't play the flute, I was like, well, there you go.
No.
Never going to be able to do it. Just can't do it. Just, I am physically unable to play this instrument.
You're just looking for any excuse, and as soon as you got one, you're like, I'm done. Let's do one or two more, and I'll get you out of here. I don't know if you have any place to go.
I should probably take a nap.
What's the best pizza in St. Louis?
Best pizza in St. Louis. Ooh, that's a tough one. I like Casey's pizza.
Those are my kids' favorite pizza is Casey's.
It's like their cheese pizza is absolutely.
It makes me feel better that you say that, because when they told me that, I was like, oh, am I a bad parent? Am I doing a bad job?
No, they make it there.
Yeah.
It's freshly made there. You can watch them make it. And if you get it like as soon as it comes out of the oven, like it's greasy and like but the crust is like chewy and like it's absolutely perfect. There are other good pizza places. Like Yaki's is good. Wood-fired pizza is great, but like Casey's is available.
Yeah.
It's delicious. It's cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good.
It is. It is good.
It's good pizza.
It is good pizza, and people will talk trash on it all because
fuck them.
Casey's.
Fuck them.
Yeah, exactly.
But
we don't need you.
You can get puppy chow there, like at Casey's. There are so many snack options there. Ugh, I love it.
My favorite one that I've had so far in St. Louis is Fortel's.
That is good pizza. Yeah.
It's everything that I want emos to be.
Yeah, I like emos too.
I just don't like it. It's too. I know it's blasphemy to say, within city limits, but it's so expensive, and then you eat it, and you're like, why is this so expensive? It's like a cracker with weird cheese.
I like bar pizza. I like all pizza. Like there's not a pizza that a Mexican pizza at Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Well, have you had the taco pizza from Casey's?
Yes.
With the
it's so
Doritos
good.
on top,
and then you can put the sauce on it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I'm a saucy gal. I like all the condiments. Like condiments, yeah. I'm a condiment fanatic.
What's the best sauce? Like, what's your go-to?
God, that's so hard. I like a creamy sauce.
Okay.
For sure. So like I like mayonnaise based sauces. I like an aioli, like a flavored aioli. Aiola. You know what I mean.
Yeah,
I mean a mayonnaise sauce. I want mayonnaise.
I do not like mayo by itself. If it's on something, I will eat it because I hate being a problem. So like if I go to a restaurant and I order something with no mayo, no pickles, and it comes with it, I'm just like, okay.
Give me all the mayo and pickles. I'll take yours. Oh God, I could swim and like I would be like Scrooge McDuck.
Swimming in mayonnaise and pickles, just backstroke.
Just like throwing it up in the air and letting it hit me in the face.
Just pickles just raining. I love a good honey mustard.
Oh, yeah, that's good stuff.
I think it's underrated, especially if you have something spicy, because spicy and sweet is my favorite flavor combination.
Yeah, that is good. I like beer cheese sauce with like, I just like any sauce.
There's a couple people I've talked to recently who's like, they were like, no sauce. Can't stand any condiments, can't stand. I'm just like,
what?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah. What are you, from Russia? What are you, a spy? Get out of here. I can't stand. I can't imagine eating something dry. We went to last night after Funny Bone. We did a late night, like midnight huddle or Waffle House run. And I got one of the like hash brown bowls, and I had to put gravy on it, and then hot sauce, and you stir it all together.
Gravy is something that I'm not a fan of.
Really?
I'm not a gravy gal.
Ooh, I love a good white gravy. I don't like the brown gravy, but white with a little pepper and but on sausage and hash browns all mixed together. That's hard.
If I get a horseshoe, I get it with cheese sauce and not with gravy.
What's a horseshoe?
Oh. It's a Central Illinois delicacy. It's either there are breakfast horseshoes and then there are regular like dinner horseshoes. And so, have you had a slinger? Do you know what a slinger is?
Familiar.
So they're kind of the same thing. Like
Okay.
a slinger has chili on it, but a horseshoe has either cheese or gravy on it. And it's basically breakfast is sausage, and lunch or dinner is a hamburger patty. Both have breakfast is hash browns, fries for dinner, and then like cheese on either, maybe an egg on the breakfast one, and then like gravy. Or,
I'm fully on board.
Yeah, it's so fucking good.
I feel like,
Yeah.
did you ever see that movie Pleasantville?
Yes.
Where
yeah.
everything's in black and white
Yeah.
until they experience something, and then
Yeah.
they turn into kind of
Yeah.
like, what if I ate a horseshoe, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, Technicolor. I'm fully on board. I might have to make the trip across the bridge just
I'm sure you can get one around here. We're close enough that there are places that have horseshoes. I can't tell you specifically where it is, but
just
you can get
Google.
it here.
I end up at Tractor Supply Company. I've got horseshoe. Like,
Don't throw these at anyone.
Well, we've almost done 2 hours.
Wow.
I hope I haven't kept you here too
No,
long.
this is great. This has been so fun.
I
I could talk all night.
Good. I hope so. I hope you'll come back and do it again.
Yeah, I'd love to.
The last thing I always ask people is, what's the best way to improve this podcast?
Oh.
Any suggestions for...
I don't know. I really had a good time.
Oh.
I really like talking about gravy. And I like talking about dead billionaires. And I like talking about
Putting
Andy
gravy
War-
on dead
Yeah,
billionaires?
let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's just send them a little submarine full of gravy.
Just send
See
it
what
down to the
happens.
bottom.
To mock them.
Thought you guys might be hungry. They can't get to it. They just look through it through the little window, get the avatars out of the way, and look through the...
The avatars are like,
They've got horseshoes. They're just eating.
No, it was great. I had such a good time.
Oh, well, good. I hope you come back sometime.
I want to.
One more time, promote the show.
The show.
And where
the
is that? Is it
show
at Heavy
is
Anchor?
at Heavy Anchor. It is on August 10th. The show is an unhinged variety show. And so comics from St. Louis do anything but anything but like stand-up or improv. So people do it's kind of a sketch character show, and our special guest is going to be Ben Johnson, and I host it with Teal Pierce.
Oh, shout out to Ben and John. Go see Cori. Follow her on social media.
Yeah.
Cori does stuff on Instagram. Cori Stewart on Facebook. Check if you're in. Was it Kansas? You said you had some shows coming up, or was it?
Yeah. So in the beginning, the first 10 days of July, I think it's going to end up only being a week, but I'll be in Iowa doing some headlining shows, indie shows, and also at the Lucky Cat in Cedar Rapids. And then I'll be in Minneapolis the rest of the week. I'm not sure of the venues. And then at the end of the month, I'm going to be doing some shows in Kansas City that weekend. And then the following month in August, I'll be in North Carolina and in Kansas City back there for Barrel of the Bottoms Body Language. And all of that stuff will be on my Insta if
Wow.
you're interested in any of it.
Yeah. Make
Friends and
sure
neighbors.
like, follow, subscribe, check it out. I'm so glad you said Kansas City, because I said, oh, you've got shows in Kansas coming up, and then you listed Wisconsin twice, and I was like, oh, I was way off. Okay,
Never Kansas.
She's gonna think I'm really bad at geography. No, thank you so much for coming. I hope you come back and do it again.
I would love to.
Anytime
Thank
you
you.
have something to promote, please let me know. I'm very slow at the editing, so it might be a couple weeks, but if you give me enough time, I'd love to have you back.
Yeah, I'd
All
love
right.
to come back.
Perfect.
This was so fun.
Thanks
Thanks,
so
Eric.
much. All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.